Welcome back, everyone, to the Feminine Christian Mom podcast. This is where we talk about real life challenges, how to reconnect with your divine feminine design through faith, peace, and balance. I am your host. My name is Adele Skinner. So if your life hasn't magically fixed itself yet, this is the episode for you. So if you remember last week, we talked about Ruth chapter 1. So today we're going to be diving into chapter 2. This is where Ruth steps into the field with courage and God meets her there through Boaz. I love this chapter. This is where feminine energy really pulls in that receptivity. This is where we get to see Ruth stepping into her feminine energy and really receiving. She's allowing protection. She's receiving provision without shame, and she stays super steady. I just love this. This is so beautiful. So we're going to watch it happen in real life, in the scriptures, with a real woman who quietly does the next right thing. And every step she takes puts her closer to God and further under God's covering. And I think it is so beautiful. So chapter 2, we're in the fields, receiving and receptivity. We open with Ruth saying to Naomi, hey, let me go to the fields and glean. So she goes to the fields. By chance, she just happens to go to Boaz's field. And Boaz is a relative of Naomi's family. So Boaz, he notices Ruth. He asks about her. He hears of her loyalty. And he decides to set boundaries to keep her safe and to provide what she needs to keep going. He provides water, lunch, and extra grain. Ruth is super humble. She receives, and in return, she's able to go home with even more abundance than she had expected. So that is basically the whole chapter just summarized. So now let's kind of slow it down and let's walk through this step by step. So let's go back to Ruth. What is Ruth doing at the beginning of this chapter? Ruth, she's not just sitting at home waiting for a miracle to knock on the door. And she's also not living in panic mode. She's not white-knuckling it and trying to force outcomes. She asks, she goes, and she works. Okay, that right there is feminine energy. Being receptive to God, being responsive to the season that she's in, and being willing to be faithful in something that is small. That is what Ruth does. And she does the work that's in front of her without fanfare. She doesn't, need acknowledgement. She just kind of puts her head down and she just gets to work. And you guys, that's not her being defeated. That's her living in her wisdom, that she doesn't need to go and strive and try to force things to work for her. She's just going to trust that God is going to do what he has promised that he's going to do. So she's out there, she's working, and Boaz, he offers Ruth water and a place at the table. And he tells his men to leave extra for her on purpose. And Ruth, she receives that. I think that this right here, this part of the story, we look at it and we're like, oh, that's really sweet. But I want you to kind of look at your own life just really quick. How many times have you been working towards something and then someone gives you that you're working for, or they make what you're working towards easier, and suddenly we become offended by that. We suddenly think, oh, by receiving this, I'm being lazy, or if I receive this, then I'm admitting that I can't do it by myself, so I must be failing. What if that was not the case? What if receiving can actually be obedience to God? Let me kind of dial that down and let's kind of walk through this just really quick, because I think so often we jump to being offended when somebody wants to provide for us and we refuse to receive. But what if God is answering our prayers through other people? What if that is the case? What if we can step back and realize that receiving, it's not weakness. It's not me being lazy. This is me allowing God to answer my prayers through someone else. And this is exactly what he did for Ruth. And this is exactly what he wants to do for us. When help shows up, it's 100% okay to say yes to it. Okay? And that's what Ruth does. She humbly says yes. Like, I'm sure she was super grateful that she was able to go home with even more food than she had originally thought that she was going to be able to. All right, and then the next thing that Boaz does is he sets some really clear boundaries or lines of protection for Ruth. So in the scriptures, he says that he tells her to stay with his young women, to stay with the other women of the group. And he also says that I told the men not to touch you. So he sets a boundary for Ruth. He tells her where she's going to be safe. And then he also lets her know that he has set a boundary for the men that are working on the fields. And that is protection. That's masculine energy doing what it does best, creating safety so that the feminine can stay soft and steady. So again, like, let's look really quick at that line right there, or that story, that part of the story. So Ruth goes into work, and as a woman, you know how much mental space is taken up by noticing what's around you and making sure that you are safe, right? So Ruth, she's a single woman. She's out in the fields working with other women, but also with other men. And I'm sure that there was some fear, like she was focused on getting food, but she also had to be aware of her surroundings, making sure that she was being kept safe. So what Boaz did is he didn't go in and try to control her. He didn't try to be like, you can only go in this one place. What he did is he took that mental worry off of her shoulders and was like, hey, if you stay with these women, you will be safe. Also, just so you're extra comforted, I have also told the men to stay away from you. And so now Ruth gets to go into the fields and only focus on getting the food. She's like, all the other mental load of keeping herself safe has been taken off. Like, what a beautiful representation of that masculine provision. He wasn't trying to force her to be in a certain place. What he was trying to do was allow her to stay in her feminine and know that she was safe. So Ruth, she takes those boundaries and she honors them. She doesn't test them. She recognizes that this is a gift, that she is now able to just focus on collecting the food that she needs to. And also, I'm sure she was able to build connection with these other women that she was around. She didn't have to worry about everything going on around her because she knew that Boaz had already set those limits, those boundaries for his own men. So she lets that safety be safety without being offended by it. And I really like that. I love looking and seeing how Ruth just trusts and how she's allowing this healthy masculine that has shown up to keep her safe and to allow her to just be in her beautiful, wonderful feminine energy. All right. So then Ruth goes into gratitude. And gratitude is such a key component in all of this. So Ruth's response when she is talking with Boaz, she's so humble. Ruth is so sweet. I mean, I think that this is a story of not only how feminine and masculine energy blend beautifully together, but also of a magnetic feminine woman. I mean, Ruth just goes out into the field and immediately Boaz is like, who is this woman? He's drawn to her. He's just very, very aware of her. And I don't think it was in a bad way. I think it was just, he was so drawn to her because she was so deep in her feminine energy that his masculine energy couldn't help but being drawn to her. So I love the story of Ruth for so many reasons. But Ruth, she goes to Boaz and she's just so humble and she's so grateful. And she asks, she's like, why have I found grace in your sight? And her gratitude, she's not simpering. She's not trying to flirt with him. She's just that genuine, honest part of her heart is like, why? Like, thank you so much. And what this does, what gratitude does for us, for our spirits, for our feminine energy, is it amplifies and it grows what God has already given us. And we see that with Ruth. she was able to sit in that gratitude and just be so grateful. And because of her gratitude, she was able to have more abundance than what she had ever expected to get. And so sometimes I think gratitude is an overlooked aspect of the feminine, just being so grateful and willing to receive what's been given to us. So it says in the text, it says that Ruth, she honored Boaz's boundaries, and she stayed close to the women throughout the end of the harvest. She just keeps showing up. She's consistent and she's steady and she is loyal. And that right there is feminine strength. That is a beautiful part of the feminine energy, is just that loyalty and that strength and that consistency. Continuing to follow what feels right and what fills us up. And again, like, this is such a magnetic element of Ruth's character. She's so steady. She's so loyal. And that's one of the things that when Boaz first noticed her and he asked around about her, that's something that the people told him about her, was her loyalty to Naomi. And I think that just knowing her love and loyalty to Naomi also pricked Boaz's beautiful divine masculine energy and really made him want to provide and protect for this woman. Okay, so now, this is my favorite part. Let's get into how the divine feminine and how the divine masculine works together. Okay, so let's look at Ruth. We kind of already have done this, but I want to just break it down really simply into what's going on here. So Ruth is receiving. She is allowing herself to be receptive. And she's allowing herself to be loyal to Naomi. She's allowing herself to love, to be loyal. She's really just sinking into that. And then her humility that she comes through with. So when Boaz is providing for her and she's just super grateful, she's not grateful. She's not being humble in a self-contempt way, because that honestly is not humility. That's actually the opposite. But she receives with so much humility, but also knowing that she deserves it in a way. Like the feminine energy is so fantastic. It's able to breach that. It's able to kind of like, it's so authentic and it's so beautiful. So when she is humble, she's not thinking she's above or below. She just notices her worth and she's able to receive with humility. And then her consistency. She continues to show up. She continues to do what she said she was going to do. Okay, so now let's look at Boaz. He notices the vulnerable. Again, like I said earlier, Boaz goes out into his field and he notices this woman, and he starts to ask about her. And that's the other part of his masculine energy, is that he asks with so much respect. He doesn't ask expecting anything from her. He's just curious and wanting to know how he can maybe help her. And then he sets those boundaries, and then he enforces the boundaries. So he lets Ruth know where a safe place for her to be is, and then he also makes sure that his men are staying within the boundaries that he has set for them. And then the last thing that he does is that he provides for Ruth without control or expecting anything in return. This right here is such a key point to divine masculine energy, is that the divine masculine is willing to provide because it feels the need to provide, not so that X, Y, or Z will happen. He didn't give Ruth extra grain or extra opportunities to gather grain because he was hoping that she would then do something for him. He did it because he felt that that was the right thing to do. And I love that aspect of the divine masculine. So if you look at these two incredible people, they're not competing with each other. Their energies are actually complementing each other. So Ruth's feminine, her choosing to step into that humility, that receptive part of her willingness to continue to show up, and her willingness to stay within the bounds that Boaz had created for her. What she did by doing that is she then made room for Boaz to be able to be in his masculine. Because she was willing to receive, he was able to provide. Because she was willing to stay within the boundaries he had set, he was able to protect her. Together, they formed this place where God's provision was actually able to bless both of them. And that is the beautiful thing about masculine and feminine energy, is that when you are in your feminine energy and living your life in feminine and in that healthy feminine, you are allowing the men around you to step into their divine masculine, and they're able to then provide and to protect you. So I want to dial back just a little bit, or I want to take a little jaunt to the left really quick. Talking to my girls who are the provider right now. Sometimes, and I'm right there with you right now, and sometimes we can feel like, yeah, that sounds fantastic to allow a man to provide for us, but what if I'm the one providing? Like, that's great for Ruth that she was able to do that, but what if I'm the one that has to pay the bills? I'm the one that's having to make sure that everything is taken care of. I'm the one that's carrying this load. I want you to know that even if you have to be the provider, you can still show up in your feminine energy first and foremost. Okay, so feminine energy is trusting and allowing God to provide for you. So if you do not have currently like a masculine provider in your life, even if you're married, that doesn't naturally mean that you have a masculine provider, because I was married for many, many years and I did not have a divine, healthy masculine in my life. And so you can still be in your feminine energy, and you can turn to God and he can be your divine masculine. He can be the one that you go to with your concerns. He can be the one that you rest your fears on. He's the one that you can trust in. Okay? And then you use your inner masculine to help structure your feminine. Okay, so what does this look like? Your inner masculine might be the one who does the budget, might be the one who makes sure that everything is scheduled. It might be the one that sets those boundaries of saying no to things that you need to say no to. Okay, but then your feminine is going to be the one that trusts God. It's going to be the one that sinks into her intuition and really ponders and asks, what feels right? Okay, so what does this look like in real time? What this looks like is praying first and acting second. Okay, so you pray, you connect yourself to the divine, you connect yourself to yourself, and you connect to that feminine energy. And then you ask, what would you have me do? And when that answer comes, then you act. And the acting is the masculine. The feminine is the feeling. It's the one that almost like gets the answer, I guess. And then the masculine is the part of you that then takes that answer and does something with it. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense, because it can be kind of confusing. But this is something that you can do even if you don't have a masculine provider in your life. Physical or not, like, again, you could have somebody in your life and still need to do this, still need to be leaning on God. I think you should always be leaning on God, but for sure, you can do this even if you don't have that healthy masculine. You can create that within yourself and with God. Okay, so here is what chapter 2 has taught us. You don't have to force outcomes. All you need to do is show up where God can bless you. Okay? Just keep showing up. That consistency. When God speaks, you do it. You continue to do what feels right. You don't have to force anything to happen. Also, receiving isn't shameful. Okay? I think so often we've been conditioned and taught that if you receive, then you're lazy, or there's something wrong with you, or you can't do it if you have to receive help. That's not true. Sometimes receiving is actually the most faithful thing that you can do. Receiving means that you are trusting God. You are trusting that He is providing for you. So start practicing receiving. The next thing we learn is that boundaries are not unkind. They are love that guards you, okay? Whether it's a boundary you have had to set for yourself to protect you from people or situations that aren't safe, or if you do have somebody in your life that is able to set healthy, loving boundaries for you to keep you safe, stay within them. Like, trust that that is love and that is going to allow you to stay in your feminine energy. Now, with those boundaries right there, if it is someone else, like how Boaz set those boundaries for Ruth, if someone else is setting boundaries for you, I strongly encourage you to ask yourself, do these boundaries feel safe for me? Okay, and I'm sure that that's what Ruth did. It wasn't just like, oh, I guess Boaz told me not to do that, so I'm not going to do that. I'm sure, just knowing Ruth, knowing her character, she's not a woman that is just going to do whatever somebody tells her to do. We saw that with Naomi. Naomi told her many times to stay. And Ruth followed her own heart. She followed her own divine inspiration. And so do the same thing. Somebody could set boundaries for you, and they may think that they're good boundaries, but you have to get that within yourself. Are these boundaries good for me? And then if they are, honor those boundaries. Even if it's somebody else that's setting them, if they feel like good boundaries, honor them. It's okay. We as humans do not like to be told what to do. Obviously, that's part of our divine makeup, right? Like, we were supposed to be making decisions for ourselves. But don't get so stuck in, you don't tell me what to do, that you let yourself get hurt, or you are not allowing yourself to be protected or provided by. The next thing the chapter teaches is how important gratitude is. You guys, gratitude is one of the best ways to be in your feminine, is to just feel so much gratitude. Gratitude for God, gratitude for the things that He's provided, gratitude for the things that other people provide, gratitude for the things that haven't even shown up yet. Gratitude amplifies all blessings. So sink into that gratitude. Gratitude also really helps you to get out of victim mentality. So if you're feeling like a victim and you're feeling like everything is against you, try gratitude on for size. Start recognizing the blessings that you've been given and the blessings that are coming and the blessings that you want. The more you focus on stuff like that, the more they're going to show up. And then the last is that steadiness and consistency. That is a virtue. And it is such a beautiful thing that Ruth just continued to show up. She continued to do what she needed to do. She continued to just work through it. And it was such a blessing for her. Ruth also, she didn't make herself less than by working the fields. I'm sure that was a very, at the time, it was probably the lowest of the low, right? But she didn't make herself feel bad for doing that. And she also didn't show up as less than because she was working in the field. Sometimes we can get embarrassed when we have to kind of sink to the bottom and we have to do things that we're like, oh, this could be maybe embarrassing or whatever. She didn't. She was like, this is what I need to do. This is what I'm going to do. It doesn't mean that I'm less of a woman or that I'm less of a person. She just continually put herself out and she was working and she was moving forward knowing that that was what she needed to do. And she didn't become needy by receiving. Just because Boaz provided for her didn't mean that suddenly she sat on the edge of the field and was like, oh yeah, and then put that over there, and then why don't you shake that out for me right there, and we'll put this in here. Like she didn't make herself needy by receiving. She received, and she was grateful for it, but she kept showing up and kept working. She positioned herself in a place that God could bless her. Because she kept showing up, she kept showing herself, showing who she was, and showing God that she was somebody that could be trusted, showing Boaz that she was somebody that could be trusted. She was blessed so much for that. So I just want to leave you with this, that if you are feeling small today, if you feel like all you're doing is picking up the leftovers behind other people, I want you to realize that God sees you. This is just a season in your life, all right? This was just one season in Ruth's life. She had to sink to the lowest. She had to humble herself to that level in order for God to, for her to put herself in a place that God could then bless her. And so I want you to recognize that. I want you to see that this is just a season that you're going through. If you feel like Ruth, where you're just at the bottom of everything, I want you to know that God sees you and he blesses the hands that keep on reaching for that next stalk. Just like Ruth, she kept going for the next one. She kept going. She kept going. She was faithful in all things that she felt that she should do. So even if you're feeling very ordinary, if you feel like you are just really struggling, that's okay. Because you know what? God does great and incredible things with ordinary people. Ruth was an ordinary woman. And ordinary, that's just a word to say that she was just like every other woman. But what was different than her for her is that she kept showing up and she kept staying in that feminine of trusting God. Okay, so next time we are going to step into chapter 3, which is the discernment and the timing. This is where Naomi is going to offer some really wise counsel, and Ruth is going to make a bold move without leaving peace. Again, Ruth always stays centered in what feels right for her. And then we're also going to talk about what honor looks like in a godly man. Very excited for this one. So, my friend, your peace is coming. I promise you. If you feel just burdened, I promise you that if you keep moving forward, if you keep going, continue to receive and continue to be grateful. Keep your heart soft. God is seeing you and he has incredible blessings just over this next hill. If you are enjoying this and if you want some more support, you can come join my private Facebook community. It's called The Confidently Feminine. And I post weekly, I answer questions, and I go deeper where you need it. It's a safe place to practice these ideas with other women of faith. So you can just search Confidently Feminine on Facebook and request to join. If this has helped you, comment, follow, and share the show so that other moms can find it. Let's learn and heal together. Until next time, goodbye.